Last week, the Steelers were doing some pre-Christmas gift giving against the Ravens in Baltimore. 2 costly turnovers play a big part of a 34-17 loss. Today, the Steelers would love to send some holiday cheer to their fan base as they entertain the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs at Acrisure Stadium. We've got all the late-breaking details and headlines of this Christmas Day special next right here on Steelers Kickoff, live KDKA TV.
Welcome to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Good morning, everyone, and Merry Christmas from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The city is ready for some Christmas football coming up on KDKA TV today at 1 o'clock, and we have all the angles for today's matchup covered. Cameras placed around the stadium. Here's a look from the south end zone. We are also live from field level as the Steelers get ready to battle the Chiefs. And again, no Netflix, no problem. We have the game for you live here at KDKA, as well as immediate post-game 2 hours after the game. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, you've got the best seat in the house right there where you are. And welcome inside our KDKA studios for another edition of Steelers Kickoff. I'm Bob Pompeani, along with the holiday quarterback of this program, Mr. Charlie Batch, who's here, and Rich Walsh, and Steelers.com columnist Dale Lawley. They'll be joining us momentarily. So, Charlie, first of all, Merry Christmas to you and Latasha. When you were with the Lions and even here, you certainly played in some Thanksgiving Day games. We know that. But have you ever played on Christmas Day? And I say that because Ben Roethlisberger has been critical of these 3 games in 11 days, trying to get all this activity into just a short window. Steelers, though, are 2-0 on Christmas Day.
They are. And I mean, I had the opportunity to play it one time when I was in Detroit. It was great to play it, but I was miserable after the fact because you didn't have family around and trying to figure out what you're doing for dinner. So a lot of these players are doing and going through those similar things as well. So you hear the players say they're excited about it, but what does it look like afterwards? So, again, that's a conversation that could potentially be tabled. Good
to have a 1 o'clock game, then you can do it afterwards, especially if you win. And plenty to discuss today ahead of this matchup, including the Steelers' offense in recent weeks seem to be having trouble getting started. Slow starts, we've talked about it all year, and they have plagued the Steelers and have contributed to back-to-back losses here the last 2 weeks. So, Charlie, how can the Steelers change that trend and instead come out and force the Kansas City Chiefs to play some catch-up football?
Yeah, each week is different, right? Depending on how you plan to attack that particular defense. And in this case, you know the Chiefs are going to be aggressive. So I expect the Steelers to get off and maybe attempt to throw the ball down the field, knowing that you're going to have George Pickens into this particular ball game today. If you don't hit those plays early and try to now attempt to run the football, that's where those slow starts start to happening. So if you're going to do it, you better hit it early.
All right, some of the best news, as Charlie mentioned this week, confirmed yesterday, regarding the status of their star wide receiver. After practicing this week, George Pickens was taken off the injury report. So we have seen this offense without Pickens for a couple of weeks. What will, I think, just his presence on the field mean not only to their game, but also, Charlie, how it affects Kansas City's defensive strategy?
Yeah, a few weeks ago, I said that was critical of him, and I said this offense is going to be pedestrian without him, and it proved to be right. But when George is in the lineup, they're averaging 100 more passing yards a game. That's the impact that George has on the game, and that speaks volumes on how talented this guy is. And if that's the case, that's going to open up the passing game for the rest of the guys on the team and ultimately help that running game as well.
No question, he has that big of an impact. Now it's time to head over to Acrisure Stadium. Rich Walsh is standing by with a special Christmas guest, Mr. Dale Lawley of Steelers.com, pinch hitting today for Jerry Dulac. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. Well, the Steelers get a great Christmas present here today, getting George Pickens back. How big of an impact is he going to make today? And do you expect him to be on any kind of pitch count with that hamstring?
I really don't expect him to be on a pitch count. I think if he's back, he's back, and they took him off the injury report completely. And I think his impact is felt across the offense. The last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of loaded boxes against the run game. We've seen Pat Freiermuth, for example, get a little more attention than what he's typically gotten when you've had George Pickens out there. So I think it affects everything, and it also gives Russell Wilson, well, maybe the best contested ball catch guy in the league to deal with in this situation. And against Kansas City, that's going to be massive because you'll see the Chiefs show a lot of zero coverage. They'll put 9-10 guys at the line of scrimmage. And if they do that, they're leaving George Pickens out there one-on-one on the outside. And that might give Russell Wilson the opportunity to maybe take some shots down the sideline with George Pickens.
Well, there's no question he's going to help out all aspects of today's game here on offense. And let's talk a little bit of defense right now. There's definitely a negative trend going on. Take a look at this graphic and some of these stats over the last first 10 weeks of the season, the defense allowed just 16 points per game, but over the past 5 weeks, not too good. That total has gone up by 11 points per game. What do you attribute that to, Dale? What is it? Because of injuries or something because of, they're playing better competition?
A little bit of both, really, I think. I mean, you look at that game against the Bengals, for example. Well, the Bengals score points, and that's what they do. Philadelphia, good offense. Baltimore, good offense. Then you go into those Philadelphia and Baltimore games missing a bunch of defensive starters. You kind of get that trickle-down effect. You also have been a little compromised offensively, and so the offense hasn't held up its end of the bargain as well, keeping the defense off the field. We've seen the Steelers lose the time of possession battle in each of the last 2 weeks. They need to do that today. You have to keep the offense on the field to keep Patrick Mahomes sitting on the sidelines.
Well, tackling has been a problem for the Steelers defense, especially lately. Mike Tomlin said they're going to get back to the lab. Did they get back to the lab, and you think they'll shore up that?
Well, the lab didn't last very long. It was a short lab this week because you really didn't have a lot of time to do that. But I think getting Deshaun Elliott back really helps. He's been one of their best tacklers all season long. It allows him to get back into that strong safety mold. Now you can take Minkah Fitzpatrick and move him back into center field. And, it just allows your defense to play these guys at their more natural positions. I know you don't have Joey Porter Jr. in this game, and that hurts. But you get those other three starters back, and I think that has a trickle-down effect across the rest of the defense. Mike Tomlin likes to talk about the next man up mentality, and that's all well and good until it's four next man up mentality. And you just reach a tipping point at some point on your defense where it's too many guys that you're missing. While getting those three guys back today, particularly Elliott, in my opinion, is massive, not only for the pass defense, but the run defense.
Yeah, no question about Deshaun Elliott. Having him back is huge in this game. One guy they won't have is Joey Porter Jr. I don't know if they can afford to miss him against some of these receivers that are out there today. What do you think of that loss, and, how long will he be out for?
I'm not sure yet with that. We'll see, I guess, with how they get through this game, and then they'll have a better chance to kind of assess everything with that. Obviously, he's their best cornerback, and you really need him in games like this. You'd love to have him going into the playoffs. It's just a situation where you're going to have to cover up for that. And again, they were missing 3 out of 4 defensive starters in the backfield for a large portion of last week's game, and you saw kind of the effects of that. Well, now when it's just one guy, you can kind of cover up a little bit better for that. And I think James Pierre will be the guy out there today. He's played a lot of snaps in recent weeks in place of the other guy, Dante Jackson. So, they have more of an ability to deal with that with some of the other guys back. And so, I expect them to get through this without Joey Porter Jr. And really, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and the way they distribute the ball, they've had 19 different players catch passes this year on their roster. They don't have a true number one guy at the receiver position. The number one target is a tight end, and Joey Porter Jr. wouldn't have been matching up on him. Yeah,
and I'm sure Corey Trice and Cam Sutton will play into that here today. Their best defensive back is Minkah Fitzpatrick. We were wondering where he's been, this year, but he made a huge play last week. How big of an impact does he have on this defense?
Just a massive impact, and I think, the last couple of weeks with Deshaun Elliott out, he's played up in the box a little bit more. And they've used him in more of a strong safety role. DeMonte KZ was playing back deep safety. Well, now you can take Minkah Fitzpatrick and put him back at his free safety spot and maybe take some of the deep coverage stuff away, because we've just seen teams not target that necessarily when he's out there.
All right, thanks a lot, Dale. I appreciate your insight here for today's game. It's a big one. Guys, back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much. All right, now it's time for Charlie's weekly quarterback analysis, which is always presented by Cleveland Brothers. Charlie, Russell Wilson had sort of an up-and-down game last week. As we know, he made some terrific plays and throws, but he also cost the Steelers 2 game-changing plays, that fumble inside the 5, and then the pick 6 later in the game.
Yeah, that was tough there. And when you look at those plays, especially in the second quarter there, I appreciate the attempt that he had there. He's trying to score. He had the opportunity to do so. He just has to protect the football. He knows better than that. And then ultimately, when you have the second interception that happened, and anytime that you have an interception but yet it's returned without your defense being on the field, that's always tough, because that was a turning point in the ball game. He's going to look at that and say, what did I have to gain by attempting to throw that? If you're going to miss outside, low and away, just not inside, because if you do, that's the result right there, is an interception for a touchdown.
That was his worst throw as a Steeler.
Right.
Plain and simple at that terrible time of the game, but he's a veteran. He knows how to make up for that. And now it's time for our number segment presented by Hyundai, and we're going to take a look at Steelers' success on Christmas Day. And here's a little gift for you. The team has played on Christmas twice, back-to-back seasons, you might remember, 2016, 2017. They beat the Ravens to win the AFC North in 2016. Who could forget that ending with the immaculate extension from Antonio Brown? And then they played in Houston the next day, dominated the Texans, holding them to 51 passing yards. And it was Mike Hilton with the hat trick of sacks, 3 sacks, 2 very memorable games. And before we go to a break, let's check in with KDKA First Alert meteorologist Trey Fulbright, who has a look at conditions over at Acrisure Stadium at kickoff. Trey?
Merry Christmas, Steelers fans. Here's a look at your forecast. If you're traveling into town for the game tomorrow, watch out for a little fog in the morning. That fog should start to mix out through the midday and afternoon hours, and temperatures will work their way back into the upper 30s to lower 40s, but the clouds will still remain as you work your way through the day. If you're doing any tailgating tomorrow, good news is, even though it will be chilly with temperatures in the 30s, we are expecting calm winds, so nothing to blow your tailgate or mess that up. Temperatures will be in the mid-30s by 11 a.m., 37 by noon, and that fog should start to mix out by mid-morning. Then at the game, expect a cloudy afternoon. We don't have much range in temperatures with the clouds. Upper 30s expected, and light winds through the afternoon and evening, even as you head home from the game. Have a great day, Merry Christmas, and go Steelers.
All right, Trey, thank you. When we come back, Rich Walsh spent some time with Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth earlier this week, and we're going to have the second part of that conversation coming up. Keep it locked and loaded right here on KDKA TV.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Hi everybody, I'm Kristen. I'm a director here at KDKA. I'd like to wish a very Merry Christmas to both of my parents, my brother, my future sister-in-law, and my fiance, and my entire family. Merry Christmas and have a very Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Jared Barton, sports producer here at KDKA. I want to wish my family and friends a Merry Christmas at home. My mom and dad, Leah, Mitchell, and Daisy, and the rest of them. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tonight. Meanwhile, go Steelers and have a Happy New Year.
Kristen and Jared, 2 integral parts of what we do here. A lot of people working today, and that's because we want to bring that game to you, and that's what we're doing. You know, Pat Freiermuth may not be the most flashy player the Steelers have, but I'll tell you this, when targeted, and that's the thing, when targeted, he has shown he has reliable ability. He doesn't drop the ball. Rich had a chance to visit with number 88 earlier this week. Rich?
Sure hands for sure. Pat Freiermuth leads the Steelers with 6 touchdown receptions. He has 3 in his last 4 games, so he's a big part of the Steelers offense. And Russell Wilson is a big reason why. I had a chance to go one-on-one with Pat after practice this week.
3 games in 11 days. Have you done that before?
No, never.
Especially these 2 teams, right?
Exactly. You know, it's a grind, but, you know, you got to embrace it. You know, it's part of the process. It's part of the journey that we're on. If we can get all, you know, guys on the roster to, you know, embrace it, you know, and come out firing, you know, whatever happens, happens. But, you know, we're excited to play 3 playoff teams before we go in the playoffs to understand, you know, what we can and cannot do.
How much has Russ helped you and this offense this year?
He's helped a lot. I mean, just having a guy who's been in the league for 13 years now, his leadership, you know, him being able to come in and really challenge us mentally and physically to, you know, push that extra limit to you know, to get where we are right now. And, you know, hopefully you know, AFC North champs, and, you know, we obviously clinch the playoff spot. So just, you know, things like that can, you know, propel us into a big postseason.
You're a Boston guy and grew up a Patriots guy, but you really embraced Pittsburgh, haven't you?
Yeah, it's very similar to, you know, where I grew up. You know, blue collar. You know, everyone is a diehard sports fan, and so just being a part of an environment like this, it really means a lot to me. And, you know, obviously signing my extension to be here for the long term, it was just a blessing.
How important was that for you to get that deal done?
It was very important. You know, I never saw myself, you know, jumping around the league, and obviously, you know, I had to play well to be able to have the opportunity. And so just being here, being with Coach T, being with Mr. Rooney and Omar for the foreseeable future, it's meant a lot.
Last question, I'm gonna let you go. I see that celebration you have with Russ.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so, you know, I like golfing in the off season. It's something that I picked up a couple of years ago. And so just being able to, you know, hit the ball on the green, and I don't do that often, so being able to imaginary do it in a football game is great.
Well, tight ends have been a big part of the Steelers offense for a while now. Let's take a look at Muth compared to Heath. Pretty comparable through 59 games. Heath had less receptions, 155 and 2,008 yards, but had 21 touchdowns. Pat Freiermuth, 205 receptions, so targeted a lot more. Little more yardage, 2,045, but less touchdowns, 17. The one thing I think Pat Freiermuth could have a big game today. Tight ends have favorable matchups against that Chiefs defense. You can even look at last week. Dalton Schultz had 5 receptions and a touchdown. So I expect to hear a lot of Muth chants here today at Acrisure Stadium.
All right, Rich, you should. That's what we're hoping for here. And Charlie, we've seen Pat Freiermuth for a few years now. He's been very reliable, but his targets are not as plentiful as you would have thought, really, after he signed his big deal. Big target, strong hands when it comes to comeback catches. Break down his game and why he's been successful.
Yeah, this is the best tight end receiver that you have on the roster right now. When you look at when they get going and they're able to mix that run and pass up, you're able to involve Pat Freiermuth. But I want to see more involvement from him. When you look at just what he's done this year, 4 games of just 50 yards or more. This is a matchup that you have to take advantage of because you know tight end wise, that's one-on-one. You're going to get that majority of the time. So Russell needs to figure out a way of how we can incorporate him more in this offense.
Yeah, just like Kansas City does with Travis Kelce. That's what they do. He's one of the primary guys there and a challenge for the Steelers as well. Sticking with tight end theme here, Charlie, at one point of the season, it seemed like Darnell Washington was going to become more of a focal point in this passing game, but they've gotten away from that. Do you think they should give him more targets?
Yeah, it's ebb and flow there, right? Because in one sense, I want to see Freiermuth, but they were rewarding Darnell Washington because he was the best run blocking tight end that you have on a roster. So they're trying to give him more opportunities, and Russell was utilizing him, especially in the middle of the field. So when it comes down to involving him more, that means they have to be better on first down, better conversions on third down, and in turns allow more opportunities for the rest of the guys on the roster, including Washington.
We go from Mount Washington to Mount Washington. Yeah, we're going to give you a look at Acrisure Stadium from above here. All angles of this game covered. We have it for you again all the way up until kickoff here, but then afterwards, 2 hours of post-game coming your way, so keep it on KDKA. When we come back, we break down Kansas City's season so far. You're watching Steelers Kickoff on Christmas morning right here on KDKA TV. Game day it is, and we're getting closer to kickoff here on KDKA. A look from our tower cam across the river. Steelers host the Chiefs from Acrisure Stadium this afternoon. Christmas Day showdown coming your way on KDKA. You know, the Chiefs deserve to be listed as Super Bowl contender once again. Best record in the league at 14-1 after coming off back-to-back Lombardi Trophy seasons. No one's ever won 3 in a row. And while they have not been as offensively productive as they have been the last couple of years, they know how to win football games, pure and simple. Rich Walsh is back with a closer look at those KC Chiefs. Rich.
Well, there's an old saying in sports, sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. Unfortunately for the Steelers, the Chiefs have been both. When the season started, the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs were the prohibitive favorite to win the AFC. And 16 weeks later, nothing has changed. They roll into chilly Pittsburgh on a hot streak, winning 5 straight, and at 14-1, they have the best overall record in the NFL again. But it hasn't been easy. They've won several games in the final seconds, including tough wins over lowly teams like the Raiders and the Panthers. And in many instances, they've been the beneficiary of close calls and lucky bounces. But good teams tend to make their own luck, and the Chiefs are still good, really good. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been putting up the numbers he has in the past, but he's been as clutch as ever, and his skill players seem to be getting better as the season rolls on. They added veteran wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins at the trade deadline. He's become Mahomes' favorite target. First-round pick Xavier Worthy has given them a much-needed deep threat, and just last week, Hollywood Brown returned from injury and caught 5 passes. Don't forget about Travis Kelce. In 5 career games against the Steelers, he has 25 catches and 3 touchdowns. While their offense has been decent, their defense has been excellent. They rank in the top 5 in both points and total yards allowed and are especially stingy against the run, allowing an average of just 91 rush yards per game. But they're not quite as strong against the pass, ranking in the middle of the pack in both yards and TDs allowed. So maybe Russ and company could exploit one of their few overall weaknesses. All right, today's South College game plan for the Steelers will be to try and slow down Patrick Mahomes, something they haven't been able to do through 3 career starts against them. Mahomes has put up staggering numbers. He's completed nearly 80% of his throws. He's averaged well over 300 yards per game. And check out that touchdown to interception ratio of 14-1. Now, the Steelers have had their share of injuries. They've been dealing with injuries. They're getting George Pickens back, but the Chiefs have a big injury for today's game. Defensive tackle Chris Jones is out, guys.
Yeah, and Rich, that is huge. He's one of their best players, and he always seems to be in the backfield. All right, thank you, sir. And Charlie, you've seen those numbers, 14 touchdowns, 1 pick. You've seen your share of Patrick Mahomes over the years. What makes him so special in your position, quarterback?
There's not a lot that this guy has not seen. And when you go turn around, if you blitz him, he's one of the best at beating you with the blitz. So the Steelers have that bend, not break mentality that they've been using, and they have to use it today because if you fall back, force him to throw the ball underneath, eventually he's going to get impatient, try to force the ball down the field. That's what you want, and now ultimately you have to make him pay for that in the result if he's trying to throw it into double team. So they just have to figure out that way of mixing it up as this game goes on right now.
He's a magician out there, no question about that. And as Rich mentioned, Travis Kelce has long been one of Mahomes' main weapons. He's killed the Steelers over the years, too, and the Steelers have had some trouble covering tight ends recently, in particular last week against the 2 in Baltimore. So who draws the assignment today in trying to stop Travis Kelce?
Well, I think it's going to be a blend between Minka and Patrick Queen. That's why you brought him here. He's a 3-down linebacker. He actually can cover with that speed of his. You can't double team him in the middle of the field. You can do that in the red zone, so it's going to be important to figure out how you can at least get a body on him, slow down his route, and then ultimately tackle the catch, something that the Steelers have had trouble with over the last couple weeks.
All right, Charlie, to get us going in the Christmas spirit here, let's say, let's take a look back at 2017, the matchup with the Texans. DeAndre Hopkins played in that game, too, and he was kind of trolled by Steelers linebacker Vince Williams. All right? So Charlie, the refs gave Williams a taunting penalty for this move over an incomplete pass. What say you about this?
I was dying laughing when I saw this initially because if you know Vince, you know he's going to do something that's going to ruffle the feathers. And, of course, when they were whooping their tail that day, it rubbed it in their faces a lot more. But it was a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, he got the taunting penalty.
Yeah, Marlon Humphrey should have had one last week, right? They didn't call that one. It was just stunning. All right. You know, throughout the years, the Steelers have always been known for bringing the heat, the defensive pressure. We're going to take a look back here at the Steelers, how they got that iconic Blitzburgh nickname, brought to you by Steelers Media Productions.
Let's rush! Rush! Good stand! That's a big play, big man. That's a big play.
It really was kind of a collaboration between myself and Dom Capers and Dick LeBeau, and Marvin Lewis was a young linebacker coach at the time, and it was really a great mix of people, and I think it was a lot of creative thinking.
Each coach brought his own ideas and nuances to the plan. The final product was a base 3-4 defense which combined blitzing with zone pass coverage, often called the fire zone. Linebackers or defensive backs would rush the passer, while others, even defensive linemen, would drop into short coverage zones to compensate.
I still remember watching, I didn't know what it was, but I saw it one day, and I saw Joel Steed, their big nose tackle, drop back into pass coverage, and I went, wow, I've never seen that before.
We wanted to do different ways to try to break down protections and try to get pressure on the quarterback while at the same time not be locked into man-to-man. So fire zone is basically a zone defense, but still bringing 5 people.
That was like a really smart, ingenious thing to do as a coach, to still get pressure on quarterbacks, because we're showing a different look. We're going to bring 5. You just don't know what 5 we're bringing.
He is hit, he fumbles the football. It's loose, it's scooped up, it's loose again. And down the field they go, and running with the football.
The essential element was having the right personnel, versatile athletes, including linebackers who could contain the run, rush the passer, or drop into coverage.
Anybody who ever played in this defense, in a 3-4 defense, knows that it does not work unless you got 4 horsemen. You know, not 2, not 3, but 4.
When you talk about Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, Levon Kirkland, and Chad Brown, those are your 4 starters. I don't know anybody who had better linebackers.
Let's go out there and kick some butt, baby. Here we go, D on 3, 1, 2, 3. He's right. You can't run that defense unless you got 4 linebackers who can get it done. Me and Chad, we wouldn't have been in there if we couldn't hold up our end of the bargain. You had a guy like me that was 270 pounds running down the seam with tight ends and running backs. And you had a guy like Chad Brown who was an amazing pass rusher, but also a guy who could be in the box that was tough enough to stop the run.
I walked into a linebacker room with Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd. It was a little daunting at first, but quickly realized this is the perfect place for me, and it feels like a football home.
The prime ingredients was 2 great outside rushers, Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green, and I call them bookends.
We are playing good right now on defense. I want to make sure you understand that.
You have to talk about the 2 bookends. You know, you had, one guy with Kevin Green who had the flowing locks and would just throw back his hair. He's a professional wrestler playing football. He had a switch that he turned on. So he was this character on the field in front of the cameras.
And, he was just flamboyant like that. Just funny, just a funny, outgoing guy, man. We had fun.
Let's get his ass.
But he could rush the passer better than anybody I know. I mean, he just had to take me down. The other guy who had a T-star underneath it said I wasn't hired for my disposition, and Greg Lloyd.
Very similar, in what we wanted to do on the field, but outside of that, probably opposites. I mean, he's a very like to be seen, want to be seen, and I'm like, I show up on Sunday.
Don't run that shit over here. That's what I'm talking about.
Wow. You remember those days, the mad scientist Dick LeBeau, the Hall of Famer, man, was he great at that stuff, and it just continued. It passed on down through the ages. So, Charlie, you got to know a lot of those guys that you just saw there on that story. Even though they were on the other side of the ball, I mean, talk about what it meant to see people coming from all over if you're an opposing quarterback.
It was unbelievable, and you see all of that prior to coming to this team, but then all of a sudden you get here, you have Jason Gilt, you have Joey Porter, then all of a sudden you have Clark Hagens, James Harrison, Lamar Woolley, all of these guys who can get after the quarterback. And as I was on the sideline, I always had the helmet communicator and the earpiece in my ear, so I was able to switch from offense to defense. So I would listen to those calls, and every time a call came in, and I would joke with LeBeau, it was so Eagle Plus, open cat, and when he's put 0 to it, you know that pressure is coming, the ball is coming out, blitz is happening, and I would just stand up and watch on the sideline saying, here we go, let's do it.
Let's
it's
do
a
it.
Beautiful
Well,
thing.
And let's fast forward to this year's defense. They haven't necessarily been known to blitz like those teams, of course, in the 90s and 2000s. Do you think they should dial that back up today against Patrick Mahomes? Or if you sit back and wait, I mean, that guy can carve you up too. What do you do?
It's going to be a mixture of the two, and I think the field position is going to play a factor into it. And that's why it's critical to win first down. And if you can get them into those 3rd and long opportunities, then you can take advantage of it. But I just would stay away from blitzing Patrick Mahomes because he is one of the best in the league at punishing you when you blitz him. So you can't do it if you're going to do it at all.
You got to be very successful with it and make sure you get him. There's no question. All right, we're going to get you set for the game. Another look at Acrisure Stadium, and Santa has arrived. There he is. And you wonder if he's in, that pack of toys or whatever he's got back there. He's got a Steeler win. That's what they're all hoping for today over at Acrisure Stadium. When we come back here on Steelers Kickoff, we're going to take a look at how former Steelers Santa Antonio Holmes, that's right, that's what he wants to be called, celebrating the holidays. It's next right here on BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Steelers Kickoff is presented by Ford. The Ford F-150 is the official truck of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the best-selling truck in Pittsburgh.
All right, welcome back and Merry Christmas here on Steelers Kickoff. We're getting closer to our Christmas classic between the Steelers and Chiefs. And even before today, the spirit of the holiday season has been in the air. Even former Steeler players are getting in on the action, including Santa Antonio Holmes.
Ho, ho. What's up, Steelers Nation? It's me, Santonio Holmes, Super Bowl 43 MVP. And I am here to team up with Steelers and Ticketmaster and watch me as I go out and surprise a couple fans here at their tailgate and watch me spread some joy. Here we go. So today I'm actually being Santa Claus, and on behalf of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ticketmaster, I would like to gift you guys with a gift from Santa Claus and the Steelers. All right, Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas. All right, this is a gift from me and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Definitely want to say Merry Christmas, man. Happy holidays. Ooh, dangerous. Gotta rush. Happy holidays, man. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, man.
All right, man. This is Santonio Holmes, Super Bowl 43 MVP. Baby. All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nice. A whole suite tickets, dude. That was so awesome. Santa Claus is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, the greatest of all time. Always great to brighten the spirits of Steeler fans this time, and special thank you to Santa Antonio Holmes for letting us come along on that ride. And now as we head back over to Acrisure Stadium, Rich has been hard at work over the last couple of weeks getting that task of finding out some of the current Steeler favorite memories on Christmas season back from their childhood. Rich?
The most memorable gift growing up? As a kid, maybe.
I got I remember one year we got like an old Papa Shot, not the ones that are like automated. It was just like the ones you just throw the ball, or a little small, but you know, we got that after every gift. Everything was around them. You know, our parents said it was downstairs, and I feel like we played with it for the entire week. So, you know, it was fun to get that.
My most memorable Christmas gift has been my grandma just giving me Pittsburgh Steelers stuff just growing up. Pirates gear, whether that was coats, Jack Lambert, Fathead, Troy Polamalu, the head. Those are some of the things I can remember.
You had a Yinzer Christmas growing up almost.
Yeah, you know, my grandma being from Highland Park, my mom being from Highland Park, it was always involvement in Steelers stuff, and you know, just crazy that I'm here with the Steelers today.
I think my most memorable gift was probably either my dirt bike when I was like 9 years old, 10 years old, or the NCAA with Tim Tebow on the cover. And I think that was like the best NCAA ever. So those two probably the most memorable gifts I ever got.
Did you know you were going to be an NFL player at that point?
I did not. To be honest, I didn't even like football as a fan. Like, I just liked college football. I didn't like NFL football. And just growing up, my dad started making me watch NFL football, sitting with him, watching Pittsburgh, New England, Baltimore, watching those games and stuff. So it was just crazy how things changed so quick. And then I got into junior high and high school and all that stuff, and just evolved to the game.
Well, a lot of great Christmas memories. I know my favorite gift growing up was when I was 13. I got a Redline BMX bike from my grandparents. That same year when I was 13, my parents got me, or Santa got me, a Steelers jacket. So I was wearing the Steelers jacket, riding my Redline bike. Guys?
That's the way you want to ride with that thing on. Thanks, Rich. And Charlie, take us back to your days growing up in Munhall. You remember any special gifts you got at Christmas time that really resonate with you?
Oh, for me, it was the electric football game. Having that board down, you had to plug it into the actual game, your stick figures that were on there, then you hit the on button and your guys start to move around. Man, that was a beautiful thing, man. All my friends, it was one of those ones that couldn't wait to play, and I was so excited. So thank you, Miss Lynn. I appreciate you.
My mom and dad got me a microphone, and I think I put it to pretty good use. So thank you for that, Mom and Dad. And for many of us, Christmas is such a special time of year, especially as a kid. The memories last a lifetime. And you just heard from former and current Steeler players as well. We wish you all the best. Now, here is a look at what's going on with the inactive list here. It's a smaller list this week. George Pickens, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Jackson, Larry Ogunjobi, all are going to return for this game. Justin Fields, questionable coming into the game as well. Meanwhile, the Steelers are going to play without Joey Porter Jr. He's injured in his knee Saturday, and Ben Skoranek, who's also dealing with a hip injury from the Baltimore matchup. Charlie, take away into this with who's playing, who's not playing. I think JPJ is probably the biggest non-player today.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see who fills that void. And the one that I'm going to pay attention to, even though he's active today, is going to be Dante Jackson, because he's coming off that back injury. I've had a back injury. That is an injury I wouldn't wish on anybody, because you just don't know if you tweak that thing. So hopefully he doesn't injure it anymore and he's able to finish this game.
They need him. And while we have a chance to take a quick look at the AFC North standings ahead of today's game, 3 teams are in the division still alive here. The Ravens now have the same record as the Steelers after winning head-to-head last week. They could still win the AFC North if they jump the Steelers record-wise in the final 2 games. Meanwhile, the Bengals are still alive. They got to win both. They have a big matchup against the Broncos this weekend. That'll likely make or break Cincinnati as Denver is ahead of them in the wild card spot. A win in Denver, Charlie. And then things are still up in the air. And that's why I said the division record right now is identical, Steelers and Ravens, which means next week, regardless of what happens today, next week is going to be the deal. You got to win both of these games if you're the Steelers, and you're in.
You have to win one, and that's why when that loss of the Ravens happened, that means now week 18 matters. Right. And right now we're going to see that schedule adjusting as it relates to how everything is shaping up.
It always goes down to the wire. That's the way they do it. Almost out of time here on Steelers Kickoff. When we return, we have our Christmas Day predictions ahead of this big game. Steelers and Chiefs, Merry Christmas. We're getting closer to kickoff right here on KDKA.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
On behalf of all of us here at the Pittsburgh Steelers, here's wishing you and yours a very happy holiday season. Here we go.
On behalf of all of us here at the Pittsburgh Steelers, here's wishing you and yours a very happy holiday season. Here we go.
And here we go. People coming across looking to get to Acrisure Stadium in time. 1 o'clock kickoff today. It's a big one for both the Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs. And that now brings us to our predictions. And we will start with Rich, who's over there at Acrisure Stadium as the crowd continues to file in. How do you see this one playing out, Rich?
Well, I think it'll be a very Merry Christmas for the Steelers and everyone in Pittsburgh. George Pickens, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Jackson, Larry Ogunjobi will be back. And I think all those guys make a huge difference in this one. I think the Steelers run away with this one. Not run away with it, but win is a close one, 24-23. I do think it'll be close, but this is a made-for-TV type Steelers game. Underdogs at home, prime time. Mike Tomlin will have them fired up, and I like the Steelers to win this one.
Rich, thank you very much. And, they play close games. They know how to win them. And, Charlie, how do you see this breaking down?
Yeah, when I look at this, players were embarrassed over the last couple of weeks. They want to put on a better performance. They know what's at stake. Right now, I believe that Russell Wilson will redeem himself with the drive in the fourth quarter that puts the Steelers over the top 28-27.
He will outperform Mahomes down the stretch. I look for a lesser scoring game, but I still think the Steelers are going to absolutely look to do better than they did the last couple of weeks, and this will be the day to do it. 21-19, they win that game, so hopefully that will all come true. What we have in store for you is the kickoff, of course, at 1 o'clock. It's coming up. Then after the game, Chris, hokey, bro, will join me here at 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock. We have 2 hours of post-game. Mike Tomlin's comments. We're going to take your calls in a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. It's going to wrap it up for us. Charlie, on behalf of you, me, everyone here, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best. Merry Christmas, everyone.